It all started when Akira Tsubaki's class had a new transfer student, Mikito Yarabi. The moment she stepped into the room, instantly seemed to already exude a certain level of oddness with her jerky movements and her bangs covering half of her face. She was assigned to sit next to him, and Tsubaki did his best to be accommodating, offering his help if she needed any. However, from the very first day, Yarabi was labeled as a weirdo. When lunchtime came, she immediately fell asleep face first on her desk. When a bunch of girls approached her to get to know her, she refused and promptly fell asleep again. Her strange behavior escalated during math period when she, out of nowhere, began laughing hysterically, claiming that it was because of something personal she can't explain. Her excuse only infuriated their teacher more. From then on, the fact that she is always asleep during breaks and that she's not really close to anyone, she gained quite a reputation as a weirdo. Little did Tsubaki know that everything would change in a single day. It was dismissal time when he noticed that Yarabi was the last person remaining in the classroom, so he woke her up. When she lifted her head up, he noticed that she was drooling and her saliva was pooling onto her desk. He explained that it was time to go home, and so she stood up to leave. Before she could completely go, he called her attention to tell her that she still had some drool on her chin, so she wiped it up before she left. He turned back around and focused back on the pool of drool that was on the table. He allowed his intrusive thoughts to take over, and he gathered some of the saliva on his fingers and took a taste. As he was sucking on his finger, he noted that Yarabi's saliva was quite sweet. That was when he realized what exactly he was doing, and he was instantly horrified. He escaped from that room as fast as he could. At night, he dreamt about a girl who was holding his hand as they ran into a strange city. There, they danced on a roof of a hotel, clearly having a time of their lives. That girl is actually Yarabi. Since then, that dream had been in his mind for days. Several days later, Tsubaki suddenly collapsed. He had a cold and his fever was so severe that he had to stay home for days. His sister was perplexed that even though the doctor said that it was just a simple cold, his fever was still quite high. While he was still stuck in bed, his sister informed him that one of his classmates had brought him some handouts from school. However, he did not expect that classmate to be Yarabi. When she entered his room, he instantly shot up from his position out of shock. She did not even bring handouts as she had said. She made herself comfortable on his bed, and in an ominous manner, she called his name and proceeded to explain how his sickness is not an ordinary cold. He was given the shock of his life when she told him that she knew where he got it. Somehow, she knew that he licked her drool from her desk 2 weeks ago. When he did not say a word out of astonishment, she raised her hand to lower the face mask he was wearing. She ordered him to open his mouth. When he did, she raised her finger to her mouth and coated it with her saliva. She then stuck her finger in his mouth and told him to suck it. When she retracted her hand, he felt that he was feeling relatively better. His fever was gone like magic. She explained that since it was so long since he had tasted her saliva, he was going through withdrawal. The reason why he was so ill, he could not believe what he had just heard. He needed answers, so he asked her if her saliva had some chemicals or bacteria that made him addicted to it. Rather than giving him more information, she laughed at him so hard that his room shook with it. When she was done with her cackling, she explained that he was lovesick. She speculated that the moment he saw her eyes when he woke her up that faithful afternoon, he fell in love with her. And that was the reason why he reacted the way he did from tasting her drool. After giving him such life-altering information, she reminded him to go to school tomorrow and left his room. He did go to school the following day. When school ended, he was unprepared to have Yarabi waiting for him. She wanted them to walk home together. When they were about to part ways, she coated her finger with her saliva once again and ordered him to lick it. He was obviously hesitating to do so, but she warned him that he may go into withdrawal again if he didn't, so he had no choice but to comply. And that became their daily routine after school. At some point, he indeed fell in love with her. So after one of their after-school routines, he gathered as much courage as he could and confessed that he loved her and asked her to go out with him, but she wanted him to prove it to her. He thought about kissing her, but she stopped him. She told him that she wanted something original, something only he can think of. He suddenly took out a photo from his wallet, claiming that it was a girl that he had a crush on for so long. He confesses that the moment he licked her drool, he forgot that he even had that crush. So to demonstrate his devotion to her, he ripped it up to pieces and threw it away. He declared that from then on, she is now his girlfriend. Suddenly, her mouth began overflowing with saliva pooling onto the ground. She explained that it's what happens whenever she's happy. She then asked him if he was a virgin. When he confirmed that he was, she was relieved that they were the same. She then revealed that back then, when she suddenly laughed during class, she actually heard a voice that was telling her that Tsubaki was the person she would be having sex with for the first time. Naturally, it was astounded to hear this. He could only watch her as she made her way home. Before completely leaving, she called out to him that she was now his girlfriend. They were at school when Tsubaki decided to ask his friend Oino's opinion. He asked for advice on what to do if he hypothetically had a girlfriend. His friend contemplated for a short moment and told him that they should probably hold hands. Tsubaki thought that this idea was brilliant, so when he and Yurabi were walking back home, he tried to hold her hand. They must communicate first. They should talk about each other's hobbies and stuff. So he tried again to be closer to his girlfriend. Before they parted ways that day, he asked her if they could talk a little. She seemed confused, so he asked what she would like to do. Her answer surprised him, though. She answered that she was good with scissors. To demonstrate this, she made him hold a piece of cloth. She then took out a pair of scissors from her panties With lightning speed, she used the scissors to make a camellia flower, since that was what his name meant. He was pretty worried that she was flashing her underwear to a guy.
Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade, the first officially licensed Jujutsu Kaisen mobile game where you can take control of curse techniques yourself.
However, she told him that she was okay with it as long as it was him. When she left, he figured that he could consider that as communication. Later on, he had to seek Yuno's not-so-expert advice again. He wanted to know what actually came way before communication and holding hands. Yuno, after a moment of speculation about whether or not Sabaki actually had a girlfriend, answered that the greeting came first. He recalled that he did greet Urabi the first time they met fairly well. However, despite all his efforts thinking about it, he was still unable to understand her. An opportunity arose when his friend gave him 2 tickets for the movie he had been wanting to watch. He considered this as an opportunity for Urabi and him to be more like a couple. He told Urabi